It is a Tuesday evening. Nothing dramatic has happened. Nobody said anything wrong. You are both just sitting there, maybe watching something, maybe scrolling, and then you see it. A notification, a statement, a number that does not match what you thought you knew. And in that moment, you have a choice. You can say something, or you can close the screen, put the phone face down, and decide that tonight is not the night. Most people choose the second option, not because they are cowards, not because they do not care, but because they have tried the first option before, and they remember exactly how it ended. The raised voices, the defensive walls going up, the conversation that was supposed to be about money, but somehow became about everything wrong with the relationship. The silence afterwards that lasted 3 days. And here is what I find so heartbreaking about that moment. Both people in that room genuinely want the same thing. They want financial safety. They want to stop feeling afraid. They want a partner they can be completely honest with. But nobody taught them how to get there without burning the house down first. I have spent years studying exactly what happens at the intersection of money and love. The point where financial stress stops being about numbers and starts being about trust, about power, about whether you actually chose the right person. And what I can tell you, honestly, is that the conversation about debt is almost never really about debt. It is about fear, and fear, when it is not handled carefully, looks a lot like anger. If you want more conversations like this one, honest, no filter, genuinely useful conversations about money and relationships that treat you like an adult who can handle the truth, subscribe right now. We do this every single week on the Couples Finance. When one partner raises debt, the other partner almost never hears the actual words. What they hear is a verdict. They hear, "You are not enough. You have failed. I am disappointed in you." And the moment someone hears a verdict, they stop listening and start defending. And you cannot have an honest conversation with someone who is defending themselves. It is just not possible. Let me tell you about Jordan and Claire. Together 8 years, 2 kids, mortgage, dual income. By every external measure, they were managing. But Jordan had been quietly carrying about $19,000 in personal debt, a combination of a credit card from before they met and a loan he had taken during a rough patch at work 2 years earlier that he had never quite found the right moment to mention. Claire found out through a joint application they were making for a home equity loan. The bank flagged it. Claire found out in a branch, sitting next to a mortgage advisor she had never met before. You can probably imagine how that conversation went. Here is the takeaway. If your partner finds out about debt from somewhere other than you, the conversation is already starting from a place of broken trust. And broken trust takes a completely different kind of conversation to repair. So if you are the one carrying debt right now, quietly, the single most important thing this video can tell you is this: the longer you wait, the harder the conversation becomes. Not because the number gets bigger, although it might, but because every day of silence becomes part of what your partner eventually has to process. The shame layer nobody talks about. Okay, so why does someone hide debt in the first place? Why would a grown adult, someone who loves their partner, someone who is not a bad person, choose silence over honesty about something this significant? Shame. That is the whole answer. Shame with a very specific texture. Because debt, in most of the cultures we grew up in, is not just a financial condition. It is a moral one. Debt means you could not manage. Debt means you made bad decisions. Debt means something is wrong with you. And when you are in a relationship with someone you want to see you as capable and strong and reliable, the idea of sitting across from them and saying, "Look, I owe £19,000 and I have been afraid to tell you," feels almost physically impossible. So people delay, and the delay grows, and the shame grows with it, until the number almost does not matter anymore because the hiding has become its own separate problem. I want to speak directly to the partner who is carrying something right now, who has been meaning to bring it up and has not. Listen, I am not here to judge you. Whatever got you here, a redundancy, an old habit, a period of your life before this relationship where things just went sideways, it does not make you a bad partner. It makes you a human being who got scared, and scared people need a soft enough landing, to be honest. Your job right now is to create the conversation before someone else does it for you. And to the partner who suspects something is off but has not asked directly, your instinct is probably right, and the gentler you make the door, the more likely you are to get the truth through it. How to actually start the conversation. So how do you open this, practically? Tonight or this weekend? What do you actually say? First, location and timing matter more than the words. Do not start this conversation when either of you is hungry, tired, or already mid-conflict about something else. Do not start it as a comment thrown out while one of you is doing something else. This conversation deserves a table, sitting across from each other. No phones, no television. Just two people who chose each other, trying to be honest. Second, the person bringing it up needs to lead with connection, not confrontation. There is a world of difference between "we need to talk about your debt" and "I have been feeling anxious about where we are financially, and I want us to figure it out together." The first sentence positions one person as the problem. The second sentence makes you a team with a shared challenge. I have been carrying some financial anxiety for a while now, and I think it is affecting us in ways neither of us have named. I want to have an honest conversation, not to point fingers, just so we actually know where we stand. Can we do that this weekend? That is it. That is the open door. Calm, non-accusatory, forward-looking. There is something I have been holding on to, and I know I should have said it sooner. I want to tell you about it. Not because things are falling apart, but because I am tired of carrying it alone, and I think we can figure it out together. What you are doing in both cases is removing the verdict from the room before you even begin. You are signaling, before a single number has been said, that this is a conversation about us, not a trial about you. What to do when it gets emotional anyway, because it will. Let us be honest. Even with the best opening, even with the gentlest tone, there is a reasonable chance that at some point one of you is going to feel something sharp, hurt, betrayal, fear, frustration, and that is okay. Emotion is not the enemy of this conversation. Unmanaged emotion is. Here is a practice that sounds almost too simple but works. Agree before the conversation starts that either of you can call a 10-minute pause, not a shutdown, not a walkout, a pause. If one of you feels the walls going up, if the voice is starting to rise, if the tears are making it impossible to think clearly, either person can say, "I need 10 minutes," and then you come back. What you are training yourselves to do is break the pattern where emotion escalates into shutdown, because most couples do not fail at having hard conversations because they do not love each other enough. They fail because they have never been taught what to do when the feelings get big. So they either go cold or they go loud, and neither of those moves the conversation forward. James and Amara, a couple I heard about through a financial counselor, started using this 10-minute rule after a particularly bruising argument about a loan James had taken to support his family abroad without telling Amara. The argument had gone for 2 hours, gone nowhere, and ended with Amara sleeping at her sister's. The next time they tried, they agreed on the pause rule first. It took 3 separate 10-minute breaks to get through the full conversation, but they got through it. And by the end, they had a written plan and something that had started to feel, tentatively, like relief. The pause is not weakness. The pause is what keeps the conversation alive long enough to actually finish it. Building the plan together. Here is where most couples stop short. They have the conversation. They survive it. They feel a cautious kind of relief, and then nothing changes structurally. Because the conversation happened, but the plan did not. A conversation without a plan is just emotional processing, which has value, but it does not move the depth. So once the honesty is on the table, the next step is a shared document, not a spreadsheet built by the more financially comfortable partner and handed to the other one to sign off on. A shared document, built together, even if one of you knows more about money than the other, because ownership is what creates accountability. And accountability in a relationship is what rebuilds trust. That document needs 4 things: the full picture of what is owed, to whom, at what interest rate, a realistic monthly figure that can go toward debt without making daily life impossible, a decision about whether any joint resources can help accelerate the payoff, and a check-in date 1 month from now where you look at it together again, not to police each other, to be a team about it. That last piece, the check-in, is underrated because it means the conversation does not have to happen in one enormous, exhausting sitting. It becomes a regular, low-stakes part of how you manage your shared life. And over time, those low-stakes check-ins replace the silence. They replace the shame. They replace the detonations. So let us land here together. The reason this conversation keeps going wrong is not because you are bad at talking. It is because you have been trying to have a financial conversation when you are actually in the middle of an emotional one. The debt is real, but the fear underneath it is realer. And until you address the fear, the numbers do not move. If you are the one carrying something, please hear this. The conversation you are afraid of is almost always less destructive than the silence you are maintaining. The truth has a way of landing softer than we expect when we choose the moment, set the tone, and lead with honesty instead of waiting for discovery. If you are the one waiting for your partner to open up, make the door as gentle as you can, because nobody walks through a door that feels like a trap. And if you are somewhere in the middle, both of you aware that something needs to be said, but neither of you quite ready to say it, let this video be the nudge. Not to have a perfect conversation, just to start a real one. If this helped you today, please share it with someone who needs it. A friend, a sibling, someone you know who is sitting with this exact tension and does not know how to begin. These conversations deserve to reach more people. Subscribe to The Couples Finance. We are here every single week talking about money and relationships in the way they actually deserve to be talked about. Together, take care of yourself, and where you still can, take care of each other.